As we've discussed earlier, the budget line at any given time between, say, chocolate bars and music downloads demonstrates the relationship between consumer desires for these goods and their income level. The main goal of this session is to compare the income of customers in different years because it affects the decision of firms of what to produce, how much, and at what price. Now, let's consider what the budget line looks like when we are choosing between now and the future. It is easy to consider the choice between two goods rather than several hundred goods, and the same will be with time periods. It is easy to think about the choice between two periods, and these periods are called this year and next year. Also, this principle could be applied to decision made with more than two periods. Let's continue our example with chocolate bar. Suppose that you have only one good to buy, and the price level is the price for this good. You also have a choice not to spend your income on consumption of this good this year and save it for future in your bank account. If you save in your account as a deposit, then you will have possibility to earn interest. This process describes how you act as a lender by giving your money to the bank, and the bank is in its turn act as an intermediary, giving someone else who borrows from him. For instance, the interest rate offered by bank is 5%. This rate is called nominal interest rate. If initial sum of money is $1 million, after 1 year, your bank gives back your initial sum with additional 5%. Then you'll have $1,050,000. The interest rate is accumulated on annual basis, meaning that it is amount earned per 1 year. In order to convert your dollar today into dollar of the next day, we simply add 1 to the nominal interest rate. For example, if you have $1 million today, then tomorrow it will worth 1 million multiplied by nominal interest rate factor. Using nominal interest rate factor, we can construct the budget line for two periods for consumption and saving choices. This line helps us illustrate consumption this year on the horizontal axis and consumption next year on the vertical axis. In order to see a full picture of budget line, we first determine the slope. The slope of the budget line shows how much extra consumption you will get next year if you give up a unit of consumption this year. The slope of the budget line shows how much extra consumption you will get next year if you give up a unit of consumption this year. And now I will give you some important points. First one, if you give up 1 unit of this year's consumption, then you save the amount equal to the price of this year. Second one, next year, your dollar amount will be the price of this year multiplied by the nominal interest rate factor. And a third point, you'll have the same possibility to spend the funds on more units of product because your funds will increase in the future. And one more point, the budget line has a minus sign. If you want to consume more today, you'll have to give up consumption tomorrow. Again, the example. Suppose the price level of chocolate bar this year is $9. The price for the next year is 10, and the nominal interest rate is 20%. Then the slope of the budget line is 9 divided by 10 in minus sign multiplied by 1.2, which is 1 minus 1.08. It means that if you give up 1 unit of consumption this year, you can get 1.08 units next year. Here you have to know that the slope of budget line depends not only on the nominal interest rate factor, but also on different period prices. Even if the nominal rate set by bank is fixed, the price level is volatile in the country, and it's determined by the inflation rate. This measurement helps to identify the real interest rate. Okay, let's consider another example taking into account real interest rate. Suppose you go to your bank and get a loan of $20,000 for 1 year. If you have to repay your debt with nominal interest rate of 5%, then the final sum by the end of the period will amount you $21,000. If you take 0% inflation rate, the cost of borrowing will be $1,000. But if we take more realistic situation with the effect of inflation, which is 5% price increase in the goods and service in the country, then the $21,000 you repaying your debt buys the same amount of goods and service as the $20,000 the bank lent to you initially. In this case, you will lose nothing and the cost of borrowing amounts you $0. The importance of the cost of borrowing is not the money amount on loan you pay, but it is the purchasing power of your money in different periods of time. To convert nominal amount of money into real ones, we use the formula of famous economist Irving Fisher. Real interest rate equals to nominal interest rate minus inflation rate. How can we use it? If bank interest rate is 7% and inflation rate is 0%, then the real interest rate will be 7%. But in realistic case with inflation rate of 4%, the real interest rate by using Fisher formula is only 3%. Now let's talk about the consumption power of real money in two different periods. Suppose your nominal income this year is 2,300,000 tenge. The next year is 2,420,000 tenge. If the price of necessities this year is 20,914 tenge and the next year price is 26,915 tenge, this means that the real consumption in given income and price levels amount 2,300,000 divided by 20,914 will give 110 units, and the same with the second one, which will give you 90 units. As you see, consumption level in two different periods is different, and if you just spend your money never earning interest, your money is less valuable and decreases the amount of purchased goods. But if you choose more saving or borrowing, then your consumption picture will be another. And saying this case, you are consuming less and the difference between your income and consumption is the amount you're saving. This amount makes a profit in the form of interest, and the next year you will have larger amount to spend. In the case when you are a borrower, then you prefer more spending all your money on consumption this year by getting debt that you have to repay with interest to your bank. So your available income to spend is small in the future periods. What did we get from this topic? Firms make predictions about sales in order to be in demand and never lose their profit. They notice a tendency in the market, and this gives them valuable information on planning the quantity demanded, appropriate time to produce and sell the goods, setting price based on the consumer's income in different periods of time. But how firms can do it? We know that increase in the real interest rate make consumption next year look more attractive relative to consumption this year. This encourages saving and discourages borrowing. It means that firms look at price levels in the market, which is closely connected with inflation rate and the bank's offered rate. More the money clients have in their account, higher the possibility to realize their product and be preferred by customers. Higher the borrowing of people, lower the expected income that could be spent on your product.